The small village of Gargrave, Yorkshire has been our home for the past 3 weeks now, right?
Yeah.
And we've been here and we've gone out and we've shot some other videos. We went out and we did York and we've gone out and we did some stuff out in the countryside.
Yeah, we went to the Yorkshire Dales. We didn't shoot a video of that because we were having too much fun. But yeah, we've done some other stuff while we're here and relaxed.
But we haven't had a chance quite yet to show off any of Gargrave. And it is not by any means like a remarkable place. This is not some place that tourists would ever come for any reason at all.
But it is a typical village.
It's a little village in the English countryside. So we're gonna walk through it, which won't take long because it is not very big. And we're gonna see like what we find to show interesting and maybe show off a few things. And we've been sitting in our little place that we're staying watching the weather all day. And here's the first tidbit. The weather changes on a dime. Like, as we're standing here, I'm like, is it gonna start snowing?
Today we have seen sunshine, partly cloudy, rainy, snow, and hail.
Yeah, and it started hailing, and I was just like,
and it's in the last like 3 hours.
But it's like for 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden it like completely shifts, and you have different weather. I'm looking in the road, and I think I can see ice, like little pellets of ice on the road.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening, Gargrave? You got crazy weather up in here.
Really crazy. Not all the houses in this neighborhood are like this, or this village are like this, but an oddity that we've seen is that there will be a large building and it will just be cut in half, kind of like a condo or a townhouse, but it's a larger structure that could have been like a mini mansion, and they've just cut it in half and they put hedges down the middle of the yard, and this is a typical house for 2 families to live in. Seriously, are you seeing the name of this town? It's called Grassington. We found this tree yesterday. We really don't know what we're looking at. It looks like an amalgamation of so many types of botany that it doesn't make any sense. It looks like a holly bush mixed with a cactus, mixed with a palm tree, mixed with an evergreen. What? And does it hurt to touch it? I haven't touched it yet because I've always had my gloves on, but is it spiky?
Nose,
I'm not using my nose. It's gonna eat me.
It's really rigid, yeah, it kind of hurts.
Oh yeah, wow. That's a species of tree I've never met before.
The history of Gargrave is wrapped around the mining of limestone. So in this area, they have had a lot of different limestone mines, and they've been going for quite some time, almost all the way back into, I'm not sure if it was limestone exactly, but there was mining happening back in the Roman times. And when you got into like the 1700s and stuff, the mining production started to pick up as the Industrial Revolution started to be a thing, like later in the late 1700s and things. And they needed a way to get all of the mine spoils, all the limestone, out of the area. And the way that they decided they were going to do this was on water. However, there wasn't a river system that was adequate. So what they did is they dug a canal, and it goes, I believe, from Leeds all the way to Liverpool. And it is around 120 miles and slices through Gargrave. So that's what we're standing next to. A canal that was hand built basically in the 1700s. And if that isn't crazy enough, it has elevation changes, and the way that they deal with that, of course, with a boat is a lock system. And in Gargrave, there is at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 locks that help with the boats, you know, going up and down the river elevation-wise in the 1700s. It's just insane. And down the road just a little bit, I think I went with my friend about 40 minutes drive. There is one of the largest lock systems, especially from that time period, but on this canal system, and maybe all of in England. And it's a 5-step lock, and really close to it is another 3-step lock that they've got. The engineering that has taken place in order to put this here in the 1700s so they could just float some limestone down the river is incredible, and shows a bit of how valuable the mining industry was. These days there are still some mines, but a lot of them have been closed down because a very close area to here has been turned into a national park, and it's become more difficult for the companies and stuff to do the mining and whatnot. But the industry does exist a little bit, mostly automated, so most of the people around here are employed in that. I'm not clear, and neither are the people we're staying with, exactly what everybody here does for work, but I think you have quite a few people that are just doing the daily grind on the commute into maybe Leeds, and I guess that would probably be where a majority of people are going. Yeah, my nards are in danger. We've come all of 100 meters, and this is where the village actually starts to begin. So the houses are a little bit closer together, and they're a little bit closer to the road. Was that hay? We're in the country, y'all. And as you come into the little village, one of the first buildings that is really eye-catching is the building that's behind me right now. And when we first glanced at it, I thought the same thing Katie said, is that is an old church. But it's not, it's actually an old school. You can see that there's actually a insignia where it's carved in and it says the name of the school up top. This would have been a school that people sent their kids to back in the day, but these days there just isn't enough kids, and all the kids end up commuting into a town near here called Skipton. So what they have done with a lot of these old school schools is converted them into apartments. And we think that's what's happened here because there doesn't seem to be any like business associated with anything, and it doesn't seem like it's an operating school anymore, but it does look like it's inhabited.
This is how electricity works here. You know you've hit the beginning of town when you hit the first of 2 or 3 pubs that are in the village of Gargrave. There's not many things that there are multiple numbers of, but pubs is one of them.
I was actually kind of surprised to see that there's a post office in this small village, because even when we were, why are you laughing? Because remember when we were in London and like all the post offices have been like absorbed by grocery stores and convenience stores. So if you wanted to mail something, there were some post offices, but most of them seemed like they were operating out of something else that had its own like purpose. And this does have its own purpose. It does motor vehicle licensing. And I don't know if that means you got to get a permit for your car and like that's what that's for, or if it's for your like driver's license personally. But they have expanded a little bit. Maybe that's the thing all the post offices do, and this is the first time I've noticed it. But I think the reason that there's a post office here and it hasn't been absorbed by a convenience store is because there's no convenience stores, y'all.
There are no convenience stores.
There is a grocery store, but not convenience stores. So maybe that's what the deal is. I don't know.
And tomorrow I'm going to send the postcards for the postcard club from here.
From here? From this little box right here?
Yeah, from this little box. It's not English without a chippy. This is the Co-op, Gargrave's supermarket. I can't really call it that because it's somewhere between a convenience store and a grocery store. Not a supermarket, not a Walmart. We're nowhere in that world. There's maybe 6 aisles. That's it. So if you want to go to somewhere that you can get a larger variety, you're gonna have to leave this village.
But they got you a squidgy bread.
Oh, they got squidgy bread. So I'm basically good. But we found out by asking the people that we're staying with how this has affected the area. The introduction of the co-op has basically closed a lot of shops in the area that were mom and pop shops. They originally had come in and they were doing produce, and that didn't, I don't know if that affected other produce dealers, but a lot of people were still running businesses. And then the co-op brought in like magazines and newspapers, so the newspaper shop had to close. And this repeated with several different types of products throughout Gargrave's shops. They slowly had to close because the co-op pushed them out. Just a English tidbit, this is not a flapjack.
Among the other notable establishments in Gargrave being the fish and chip shop, a couple of pubs, believe it or not, they've also got a place to have tea.
You gotta have a tea room.
You do,
That's
apparently.
just Yorkshire.
I had my eye on this place for a while. I think they were closed for renovations or something. And then when we came, they were closing because they close at like 4 o'clock because everything closes at 4 o'clock. And then we were going to come today, and they were like, "Oh, we're also closed on Tuesday, Mondays." Yeah, so we're not going to get to hit it.
We're not going to this tea shop ever.
This is one of England's iconic phone booths. And in London, We noticed that there's not very many phones inside the phone booths anymore, and the outside has just got like erotic advertisements all over all the windows. This one doesn't have any erotic advertisements and actually has a telephone in it that looks like it's functioning.
Does it work?
Good Lord, the door is heavy. And I noticed that it says here that you can't use cash. It doesn't take coins anymore. So you can only pay with like a credit card somehow. But yeah, it does look like, yeah, it's functioning. Country
Village life?
No cell phones.
That's not true.
That's not true. In addition to the man-made canal that was just like a block or two over, there's also what I assume to be a natural little river, stream, creek running through the town of Gargrave. And they have put some stepping stones that go across the river. And somebody on Instagram mentioned to me that these were here as if it was like kind of like a big part of the town. And I think it might be just not in the winter, because I spoke to some other people and they said that kids will play in the river and stuff and run back and forth on the stepping stones, which would be totally cool. But like right now, like remember we said when it was hailing? Like, it was snowing a few minutes ago. I'm not about to start like piddle paddling my way across those stepping stones.
Two things about these stepping stones. Number one, just watch a duck fly through one of them. Like he just went down, was like, bloop, and that was pretty enchanting. Also, going across these, I don't want to be the first person that slips off of this and then dies on the way to Skipton. I just don't want to be that person, so I'm not going.
This ground is real squidgy. Basically still inside of town, and there's just a bunch of sheep. These are like urban sheep.
Pub number 2.
Maybe it's just years of living in Asia, but being in England now and seeing street signs that are named like logical things has been kind of a treat. Like, can you guess what's on this street?
At the intersection of Church Street and Church Lane, the nexus of the church universe is the church. And we were told that the difference between a village and a city, villages have churches and cities have cathedrals. So if you go to Leeds, you're going to see a cathedral. If you come to Gargrave, you're going to get to come and look at this church.
If you're from England, you're probably just kind of bored of little churches like this because they are a dime a dozen. They're in every little town and you see them quite often. But for us, every time we see them, we're still kind of like stopped and like, wow, look at that, so picturesque. And it's like the way that you've got this image in your head of like what a church is supposed to look like, and there it is, it's right there. It's like the exact church that they would have designed for a film to like be like, this is the English countryside, and it's like sitting right there next to you, and there's just one after another, and this one is no different from the rest. And it's the same inside. You go inside and there's like the stained glass windows and there's a big organ and just the way the pews are set up and everything, it's all very, very picturesque. And on the outside there's always this little cemetery that's like well kept.
It always comes standard with English spookiness.
That one wasn't too spooky, but at nighttime that would probably like be a pretty sketchy place to be. Like, not because of the people, but because of the people who used to be people.
Just a little ways down Church Street, exactly across the street from the actual church, the view is spectacular. We just stopped and stared for a while. Transportation in Gargrave can be a bit sparse. If you want to take the train, you're going to walk a little ways out of town, maybe less than 5 minutes, but on the outskirts a bit, and you're going to come to this lovely little station that has no one here. You will just stand here and wait for a train. And I think the train maybe comes 6 times a day. On high commuter times, maybe a little bit more, but it is not frequent at all. Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say that if it's not canceled and they stick you on a bus.
Yes. And then that takes us to the bus, which you can get the bus from across the street from where we're staying. That also comes only a few times a day. So you really need to strategically plan out your travel, which was new for us.
This is my first actual British Mini. And I'm loving how purple this car is. It's amazing looking. It seems like it's probably owned by a guy that's working in a machine shop over there. And looking inside, it looks like he has just kind of, it looks like this is his hobby. Let's put it that way.
From one tip of town to the other tip of town, which is right behind me, you can just see the town ending right there. 10-minute walk at most. 15 if you want to look at something.
I know what you're thinking. Why did they end up staying in Gargrave? It is a super cute little place and stuff, but again, like I said earlier, like it's not a place that tourists are going to be drawn to, and it doesn't have an incredible transportation system or anything. So when you're here, you're kind of here. And that was actually kind of what we wanted. And we got lucky because, and this is the cool thing about the internet, and this is the cool thing about our video project for us, and the chance that we've had to meet some like amazing people. But like we mentioned that we were going to Europe, and I got a message from people that lived in Gargrave, and they were like, hey, we have this place in Gargrave, and we're actually, at the moment that they sent the message, we're building a tiny house in our backyard. And it was going to be finished about the time that it was possible for us to visit England.
And we heard that our arrival also brought about some motivation to
get the builders out, to get the tiny house, like all the little finishing touches put onto it.
This is a symbiotic relationship.
Symbiotic relationship. And so we were like, okay, well, like that sounds incredible. Can we? Is it cool? I felt weird. I was like, can I stay 3 weeks? Okay, because we knew we were going to be in Sweden shooting a whole bunch of stuff, and then we were going to be doing Christmas, and then we're going to be in London shooting a whole bunch of stuff, and we just needed time to get caught up on things with editing and stuff, and just a place to just kind of decompress for a little bit. And let me tell you, Gargrave is the perfect place to just decompress a little bit. And we have been staying in this wonderful little tiny house.
This little tiny house is going to be in my heart forever.
Yeah, you think? Yeah. And it's behind their house, and it's stunning, and when we got here, it was brand new. Nobody had ever stayed in it before,
and we have destroyed it.
Now that we've ruined it. But yeah, you want to show them around the tiny house? There's not a lot. It's a tiny house, but that's exactly what you want to have.
So you walk in the door here.
Yeah, there's a big glass door, and we have a nice view of a little garden.
We have a lovely little fold-out table here that we've used for a few dinners, which have been nice.
And then this guy's in our future.
And we're going to have some tea later. Fika. And then a television that we've been using every day.
Yeah, and it's cool. I plugged a hard drive into it. It'll play videos off the hard drive, so it's really nice.
British television's boring though, so...
Well, we've been watching Peep Show.
Yeah, well...
Literally watching British TV off
what you can get on the television is really not that good.
Yeah.
The couch. This is where I've been working. I sit on the couch and I do all my work on the couch.
You usually sit on this side.
With the pig?
Yeah, that's my pig. That doesn't come with a tiny house.
No, it does not come with a tiny house.
And
Don't expect a pig.
I sit next to you sometimes.
Yes, Eric sits there.
All right, let's keep doing the spin.
And then over here.
Have you noticed how wood it is? The wood in here.
Yes, the wood, it's like a sauna in here.
Yeah, and it's like the color's really nice. Speaking of sauna, the floors are heated.
Yeah.
So if you leave your panties on the floor.
Earlier, I was really cold. I cut off your panties. Sorry. Continue with your panties.
Okay. You warmed your panties up by sitting manually down.
Yeah, I was really cold because we had come out from doing something and I was just cold, so I sat on the floor and I wrapped a blanket around all the heat just getting
sucked in. It's like a kotatsu, but the whole floor.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Like I was saying, at night, if you want to leave your panties on the floor, when you wake up in the morning, your panties warm.
Toasty.
Extremely comfortable bed.
Yeah, the bed is really, really comfortable.
Yes, it's been wonderful.
Fantastic. And there's tons and tons of other things that we have found out the intricacies of, but for this tour, that's all you need to know.
Well, what about where you poop? Where you cook?
This is the poop and cook is in a different area. So you leave your tiny little house.
Hold on a second. Pooping and cooking is going to happen in a second. My battery light's flashing, so we'll be right back. All right, we're batteried up and we're back. So, stepping back outside.
This building has actually been here since the house was built long ago. And it used to function as a place where they kept coal.
Yeah.
Am I right about
Yeah,
that?
it was like the coal storage for the house or something.
And, yeah, so it was just kind of a storage shed. But now, it's an awesome little kitchen. And I've done pretty much everything you can do in this kitchen. I've ovened, I've microwaved, I've grilled, I've toasted, we've cooked on the stovetop, I've done the dishes.
Got a clothes washing machine.
Yeah, we've washed and since our friends are thinking about like Airbnb-ing this, so we're testing out everything. Like, what can you do with all of this stuff? So we've been having like a blast playing around with all the things that we can play around with.
And even though it's a tiny house, this kitchen is massive compared to what we're used to in Japan.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. There's so much more counter space. He's the mascot of the kitchen.
Didn't we name him? And I forgot his name though.
I don't remember his name. Sedgwick? I think it was Sedgwick.
Okay.
And then the bathroom. I believe this is where the coal was. So this is where I leave my coal. But the bathroom is just extremely modern and lovely. And there's like this little heater here. I gotta talk about this little heater.
Yeah.
So when this is on, it's right in front of the toilet. So like you having a cozy poo. And then also it's right by where my towel is. So it's a cozy towel as well. Oh, it's so warm. Yeah. It's been a lovely stay in Gargrave for sure. Yeah, Gargrave is excellent.
Yeah, I liked it here. And it's got Skipton too. It was like, if you're a tourist, Skipton might be a place you could come.
Yeah.
And then, so Gargrave's a good place to stay.
Come and stay in Gargrave and go see Skipton.
These little churches, which there is a lot of in the English countryside, are still kind of like dropping our draw. What?
Drawers?
Yeah, bannies. You doing your makeup?
Yeah.
To Gargrave.
To Gargrave. It's really hot.
We hope you enjoyed checking out a little English village with us. If you'd like to stay at the tiny house we stayed in, check the link to its Airbnb profile in the description of this video. Next up is more from Isle of Man, followed by a bunch from Scotland. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. We also have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts you might enjoy. Links below.